And good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live and also our YouTube Live, depending on where you're tuning in from this evening. Thank you for joining us for our City of Brentwood neighborhood meeting. For those of you along the area of Split Log Road, tonight we are going to be talking about and showing you what Brentwood Fire and Rescue Station number 5 to be built in the future is going to look like. So the panel of people that we have here tonight to help us present this presentation will be Jeff Earwood. He is with TMPartners. He's a principal there and is the architect firm that's helped design this beautiful building when you see it. And we have Fire Chief Brian Goss from Brentwood Fire and Rescue. He's a familiar face to a lot of you here in Brentwood. Also, City Manager Kirk Bednar is here with us and will be telling you more about the goals of tonight's meeting. And then Lori Smith, she is the person, the creative powerhouse behind all of this. She's the senior project architect here with TMPartners. And so she and Jeff will be letting you know this evening about the building design and kind of what else going on. So we already see 18 people have joined us live this evening. We appreciate all of you tuning in. We are going to make this meeting quick and factual. So we are going to jump right in it. You are welcome to ask us questions at any time. You can just type them into the chat here, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and we will post your questions on the screen, so feel free to ask anytime. All right, so City Manager Kirk Bednar is going to start us off here. Kirk.
Thank you, Deanna, and welcome to those of you who are viewing it. This is really our first time of trying a community meeting in this format. In the time of COVID, we've learned a lot of different ways of doing different things, and so hopefully you find this beneficial and obviously a little easier to attend than having to drive to a meeting room somewhere. So hopefully this will turn out good. But before we get into the details of the design of the station, I just wanted to kind of recap how we got to where we are today with this project. And it really started 5+ years ago with Chief Goss and the Brentwood Fire and Rescue Department doing some long-term strategic planning. And they identified this southeast area of town as both one of our fastest growing areas, but also one of the areas that kind of fell in a hole between two stations where we were having response time issues. And we had identified really the ideal of a 5th station in this area. So back in the fall of 2018, we purchased this property here on Split Log Road, a little over 2 acres. And since then have been kind of moving forward with planning on the actual construction of this station. At the time we purchased the property, we did have a rezoning meeting and another neighborhood meeting to kind of explain the project. And one of the things we committed to the neighbors out there at the time was that we would do our best to make sure that the look of this station fit with the area that it was going in. And the idea there was that we would try to make it as residential looking as we could, knowing that it still is a fire station and has to function that way. So as Deanna mentioned, we have enlisted the services of TMPartners as our design firm for this project. We are through kind of the initial schematic design phase of things. And so we're at the point where we can fulfill our promise to come back to the community and kind of talk about what this station is going to look like and how it sits on the property. So that's our goal tonight. Chief Goss and I are certainly here to answer any questions that come up relative to the city part of this project, but really the focus is on what's this station going to look like and how's it going to sit on that property. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Earwood to kind of let him run through this, and he and Lori will highlight that. And again, as Deanna said, we will answer any questions as they come up. So Jeff.
Thanks, Kirk. I want to thank the city for giving us the opportunity to work with them to design this station. TMP is a Brentwood-based business. We're located in the Hill Center, Brentwood. We've been in Maryland. We were in Maryland Farms for many years. So it's important to us as a business that's been in Brentwood for over 30 years. It means a lot to us to be designing this station. We got a lot of folks in our office that live in Brentwood and some that will actually be served by it. So truly a vested interest in the project. Next slide, please. So here's kind of a summary of the location. Most of you probably know exactly where we're at, but we've identified a few locations here, that the Tuscany Hill subdivision in Sonoma being closest by, Terra Brook, Jordan Elementary to the to the east, and then the multi-use trail to the park to the west. Gives you kind of an idea of where we are at Ragsdale and Split Log at that three-way intersection. Next slide, please. As we started designing, one of the most important things about the design of a fire station and all architecture in general, but specifically a fire station, is that it responds to the local character of the area, and that's most often residential. So these are actual images from the nearby neighborhoods that kind of helped inform the exterior architecture and design of the new facility. Next slide. So here's a quick summary of how it's sitting on the site. To the left is a little bit more of a technical site plan to give you an idea of the footprint of the building and how the drives and all will connect in kind of an evolving construction document format. On the right, obviously, is a little bit more of an artistic rendering of how the property is anticipated to develop, including landscaping, drives, parking, the building in the center. One of the most important things to note here is we've got a single connection to Split Log to minimize the number of drives in the area, as well as to keep in mind the fact that we do have the multi-purpose trail that will be crossing the drive, so simplifying the site design with one drive. Next slide, please. Here's some representative building elevations of the design as it sits today, and we are kind of in the middle of design at this point. So you may see some things tweak here and there, but for the most part, this is the building as it has evolved to this point, and is how you will most likely see it at its completion. So at the top, we've got the north elevation that faces Split Log Road. The red doors are bifold doors that are open much faster than traditional roll-up doors to maximize response time. The tower that's in the center is representative of an old hose tower. If you don't know what hose towers were, actually earned their name because the cotton hoses used to have to be hung up and dried out. So they don't have to do that anymore. The hoses are polyester or nylon. Chief will probably correct me on that, but so a little bit of an homage to the past in terms of a traditional fire station. The second elevation there is kind of the west side. Again, we've got a lot of landscaping. We'll see how visible that is as we move along. The third elevation is the rear of the facility, and then the bottom one is the elevation facing west. Next slide, please. And so we've been designing in 3 dimensions, as we always do. The software's come a long way. It gives us the ability to truly communicate the design intent at an early design stage. So I think these probably help a lot more than the flat elevations to help understand how the thing has evolved. It's a 2-story station. The site kind of necessitated that, and it works well for internal organization of space. So next slide, please.
I'll jump in here really fast. One thing that's important for us is the connection to the multi-use trail along Split Log. So the first thing that we have as soon as you walk in the building is a toilet that can be used by the multi-path users as well to connect to the community.
Absolutely. Thanks for catching that, Lori. We got a question that's popped up here from the Brentwood bicyclist. Is anything being done to minimize the impact on the path along Split Log during construction of the fire station? And that's a great question for the contractor that will soon be selected. And but I do know that they, having talked to some that are planning to pursue the project, they do have a plan to maintain that path for the bicycles. I don't know the exact answer.
Yeah, Jeff, let me add in there that is one of the discussion points we have had with the contractors we've interviewed, is the understanding that trail needs to stay open. Now, having said that, I think we all have to recognize that there's going to be coming and going of heavy equipment. We'll sign it with appropriate warning signs on the trail. And I guess our advice would be to the trail users is as much as we will advise the contractors that come and go to be safe, we would also advise anybody on that trail to not just assume they can fly on that trail at 20 miles an hour on a bike and cross that entrance road. So we would ask anybody who comes across there to assume that there's traffic coming and going and to be safe in their use of the trail also.
Okay, so the next piece that we've got is a video, an animation that will actually kind of take you around the building slowly. A couple of minutes here as we come into the drive. Again, imagine multi-use trail users in the bathroom that Lori mentioned. There's parking up front. Not both will be handicapped. We will have one that is not. The metal cart at the front is a Chief Goss personal addition to the design of the station, old hose cart. So we're coming around. This is the path that all vehicles will take coming in. Most of the folks that are coming in, of course, are coming to work during shift change. The fire apparatus, the trucks coming back into the bay will use this path as well. So front porch, rocking chairs, again, very residential, a mixture of asphalt shingles and standing seam metal roof, brick and stone, variety of brick colors, a little more of the grays and neutrals, some fiber cement siding, a hardy plank type product on those upper windows at the bunk rooms, and then kind of a balcony or secondary entry really to the back of the facility to get the folks reporting for shift change directly into the day room and bunk area, locker room area on the second floor, so they can get in and change quickly. Again, bay doors in the back that are a little bit different than the ones in the front. The ones in the front aesthetically just pop a lot more, but in the back, these are a little bit more cost effective in the rear of the facility where it won't be as visible. So I think that wraps it up.
So Jeff, if I may, again, I think the goal here was to focus on the external and what the residents will view here. The City Commission has kind of endorsed this look, and as Jeff said, there's obviously going to be a few tweaks as we go along, but I think fundamentally what you see here tonight is the way it will look. Chief Goss, you want to comment just a minute or two about your goals for the station, especially as it relates to the firefighters and such, being part of the neighborhood and being part of the community?
Yes. A new trend, or actually a return to tradition, is the concept of the neighborhood fire station, and an area where firefighters can actually be part of the surrounding neighborhoods. And that was our goal in design of the building, and also our ability to interact with public, especially those using the trail, by offering a restroom facility and a place to refill water bottles and those kind of things, which doesn't really exist in that part of the city. Primarily, when we first started looking at designing this station, it was based on the fact that our response numbers in this part of the city were climbing dramatically, and our response times were delayed due to traffic and distance and just the nature of the roadways. As we have gone through the planning process this year alone, our number of responses that originate in this district have climbed 21%. So those increases, as anticipated, are going up rapidly. And keep in mind, those are only responses that originate in this new district. That does not count the number of times that engine 55, which will be stationed here, goes into other districts along Wilson Pike and Sunset Road to assist those companies on multi-unit responses. So it was both a distance issue and a response time issue, and we are very excited to get this started. And we know that when we average our aggregate numbers citywide, as far as our response time and our effectiveness, that this station will have a dramatic impact.
Thank you, Chief. And that leads into the obvious question of what's the schedule for the project? We have shifted some funds around in our capital planning and are moving the schedule up for this project. So right now, we hope to award a contract at the end of April for the construction contractor, construction manager, so they can come on board and work with the architects and throughout the rest of the design. Our goal is to break ground this fall of 21, and to have the station open in fall of 22. As Chief mentioned, we've got apparatus to purchase also. We've got funding in next year's budget to order a new fire engine to be stationed at this facility. And we also have funding in our budget for next year to hire the additional firefighters we need to open this facility. So everything is geared towards a fall of 2022 station opening. Now, we all know it's construction. So weather can impact that. And really today, it's the availability of construction materials that can delay that. So that's what we're shooting for. Some of those things are out of our control, but we have funding allocated. Our budget right now, construction-wise, is just a hair under $5 million for this facility. It obviously is going to be a little more expensive based upon the materials being selected, but the city commission was adamant that this needed to be a station that blended with the neighborhood, and hopefully that the neighborhood is proud to have adjacent to it. So that's kind of where we sit schedule and plan wise. And again, we're here until all the questions are asked and answered. Will be their pets as well. Yes, Sean, I think you're right. Again, we really hope that there's a lot of coming and going from the public into this station. As Chief mentioned, this section of our trail segments, doesn't have a park really close by. So we don't have bathroom facilities. We don't have water stations. So this fire station gives us an opportunity to do that.
And Kirk and Chief, I wanted to jump in. I wanted to let y'all know that we have 36 people watching live right now across the 3 platforms. We've gotten several wonderful comments. Sean has chimed in a couple of times with questions, and then also a compliment. He says he loves those red doors, and you definitely have to do something on a fire station in red. And I wanted to hear Chief Goss's explanation about the hose cart out front.
Well, not unlike the hose tower and the red doors, it's a throwback to tradition. If you go to any of our fire stations in the city, that you'll see some aspect, whether it's in the Memorial Park at City Hall, or in front of Wilson Pike Station, or even down at the Service Center, some recognition, acknowledgement of the history of the fire service. We have a very proud tradition in the fire service, even though we try to stay as proactive as we possibly can. So again, it's just a reminder of where we've come from as we look toward the future.
Well, excellent. I know Helena Hess says that was informative, and she thanks you very much. So we appreciate all of you with your comments here this evening. Happy to hang around here for a little longer. We still have 31 eyes I'm seeing on our live broadcast here. So if you have any questions for Jeff or Lori or any of our city officials, this is your moment where you can get those questions answered. Sean has one more here too. As a neighboring resident, love the look and appreciate all the efforts in the design. So we appreciate hearing that, Sean, because this is definitely, we want it to be a community asset. Let's see. There you go, Kirk. I think you're muted for a moment.
Sorry, I knew somebody would do that. I just want to say, you want to mention before we sign off here that everybody knows that this is recorded and will be available for viewing. So any of the HOA representatives that might be here, we want to send out a link to their residents who couldn't join us tonight can go back and watch.
Indeed, great reminder. You can find this on any of the city Facebook main channel, the fire page, and also the City of Brentwood YouTube channel. So we do appreciate Jeff and Lori being with us here this evening. And if if residents don't have any more questions, Kirk, I guess we can go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah, again, we don't want to keep anybody, and obviously in this mode, we're not keeping anybody. They can just leave us whenever they want to. As opposed
That's
to
a great thing
meeting
about the
or something
virtual
like that.
meetings, right?
As opposed to a regular meeting where they might feel awkward about getting up in the middle of a meeting and leaving. So, no, like I said, we wanted to do this. Again, we're proud of what we've got planned, and it sounds like, at least for those who joined us tonight, seem to be pleased, and that's gratifying to us. And I know it is for Jeff and Lori. And we're going to move forward, and we'll keep everybody posted on a construction start date.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Kirk, and thank you all for being here this evening. Thanks to the residents, and we will be talking to you again here soon. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.